For coming. Yesterday, the Ontario PC Caucus called on Deputy Premier Dwight Duncan to reveal how much Ontario families are being forced to pay for the secret deal Dalton McGuinty made with Ontario's largest public sector union, OPSU. Records from the Ontario Labour Relations Board reveal that Dalton McGuinty cut a secret deal to give 38,000 OPSU employees a wage top-up, in addition to a generous public agreement that doesn't kick in until conveniently after the next election. And what's worse, the same records show that the McGuinty government was actively trying to bury the details of their secret sweetheart deal where Ontario families would never be able to find them. Incredibly, rather than come clean with Ontario families, Minister Duncan shrugged off this breach of the public's trust by saying these types of secret side deals are done all the time in Dalton McGuinty's Ontario. No remorse, no apology, no attempt to clear the air. Just an out-of-touch response from another out-of-touch McGuinty Liberal. Apparently Dalton McGuinty's so-called wage freeze is as worthless during backroom deals as it is in public sector contract negotiations. Ontario families deserve answers. Today I'm calling on Dalton McGuinty to show them the respect they deserve. Dalton McGuinty must reveal how many of these secret side deals he has signed with public sector unions. How much will families be left on the hook for, and how many of these hidden jackpots pay out after this October's election? From the secret Samsung deal to the secret Sapsford deal to this secret side deal, it's clear Dalton McGuinty believes Ontario families can continue to pay more and more and more. We will take a different approach. We will restore accountability to a government Dalton McGuinty treats as one big slush fund for his sweetheart deals and expensive experiments. We will ensure public sector spending reflects the private sector's ability to pay. We will deliver the change that Ontario families want, and the change they deserve. Questions? Comments?
Would you take the 1% away?
No, we're going to be very clear though, and we have been very clear. Mr. Hudak, Tim's been very clear that we have to make sure that what we pay the public sector is what the private sector is able to afford. Many of my constituents, including almost 300,000 Ontarians in the manufacturing sector, have had a 100% pay cut. They've lost their jobs in the last few years of Dalton McGuinty. And I think he should take that into account when he's negotiating with his public sector employees.
We heard virtually the same message from Rob Ford. He said that we're only going to pay what the public can afford, and the police department is getting 11% over 3 years as a result. So this is in line with what the people have elected Ford for to do.
Well, that's a municipal agreement, and we have great respect for our men and women in the police services, and leave that up to him and his negotiations.
Yeah,
but right now, it's clear
those to provincial levels. That way,
it's clear that Dalton McGuinty has no respect at all for hardworking Ontario families who have to pay these bills. And to have a secret deal in my 21 years, I have never seen anything like it. It is shameful, it's immoral, and people have a right to be extremely angry at Dalton McGuinty for trying to hide this. If this was such a good deal, you know as well as I do that he would be out bragging about it. This is not a good deal for the people of Ontario, and it's shameful the way he's acted and the way he's covered it up.
Are you trying to pit provincial employees against the average taxpayer?
Well, I think the average taxpayer, being the boss of provincial employees, being the management side of provincial employees, is always one way or the other pitted against the provincial employees when it comes to negotiations. But we want peaceful negotiations. Clearly, Dalton McGuinty has bought peace in a secretive way. That's the wrong way to do it in the province of Ontario. I've not seen it during my 21 years in office. And I think when you see the comments we've seen from arbitrators who have been around longer than I have, no one's seen this sort of shameful secret behavior before. People of Ontario are willing to give the public sector employees fair wages, but it has to reflect the ability of the taxpayer to pay. And it has to be done in an open and transparent way. This is unprecedented in the province of Ontario. Dalton McGuinty should be ashamed of himself. And rather than trying to fudge this all by saying, well, they made other concessions, he should be coming clean with the people of Ontario. He should be apologizing. And he should be telling us how he's going to balance the books now, given that his entire fiscal plan is a sham. And how many other deals are we on the hook for, and what's the cost going to be in the future?
So would your government say no wage increases for any public workers until either Ontario is out of deficit or until private sector workers gotten raises?
Well, we're going to negotiate in good faith. Clearly, Dalton McGuinty's negotiated in bad faith. He will have done more to anger public sector workers than any other government, including the previous Conservative government, where we negotiated fairly. You didn't always perhaps like the noise around our negotiations, but OPSU got fair deals under previous governments. The deals were open and transparent to the public, and we were with balanced books 5 times. Mr. McGuinty's going to have a very difficult time with all of his transfer partners now. Everyone's going to want at least what OPSU's getting in the 4th year of their deal.
Did they have a duty, Jim, to disclose this 1% when they announced, this was done before the wage freeze announcement, they were very clear on that yesterday, but when they announced this request for a wage freeze, I guess they certainly didn't legislate it, should they have it then, did they have a duty then to disclose they made this side deal that, for the largest public sector union?
Yeah, of course they had a duty, absolutely, and I don't buy their line that this was before the wage freeze. There is no wage freeze. That's just been rhetoric. The only reason they even brought that out in 2009 was because of the pressure we were putting on them. Because Dalton McGuinty refused to acknowledge through most of 2008 that we were in a severe recession, that many of our constituents were having 100% wage cuts because they were being laid off. He was completely out of touch during that time. He never intended to have a wage freeze. That is just baloney. We now know that. We've been saying that all the way along. So I don't buy that this was after the wage freeze. He never intended to have a wage freeze. He obviously clearly intended to cut secret deals and treat the government treasury like his own personal slush fund to buy votes in the next election.
Jim, do you think he did this to avoid any serious labor strike with the public service union?
Absolutely. He's buying votes. He's made a deal clearly with them. I've sat in those negotiations as a senior cabinet minister many times in the past. This would be the sort of thing that obviously OPSU would agree to, and they'd agree to keep secret because it benefits their members. Good for them. It's not the right thing, and it's not the right approach or a responsible or honest approach from the Premier of the Province of Ontario. People place their trust in you as an elected official. He has breached the trust of the people of Ontario rather severely.
Couple more questions.